It's a great honor for me to introduce our wonderful friend, Truman Bell from ExxonMobil. Truman's been just a wonderful supporter and advocate and, I don't know, just almost cheerleader, I would say, for the UTeach program from many years back. And it's been a wonderful privilege and pleasure to work with him through the years for UTeach support at UT Austin initially, but then ultimately taking this program to national scale in this wonderful replication program. Truman is ExxonMobil's Senior Program Officer for Education and Diversity, and he coordinates lots of different things. He does community relations activities, and he manages education and diversity programs for both the ExxonMobil Corporation and the ExxonMobil Foundation. So he's a really busy man and does many different things for the company. He's about to move on to yet another level in the company and another job, which will be good for him and sad for us, because he's been a wonderful, wonderful person to work with, wonderful friend to us, as I said. He has this long history of relationships with universities and ExxonMobil. He was, in his early days, right, a recruiter for universities, and he told me stories about, and these were in the old days when Exxon was not as popular or whatever with universities as it is right now. And so he's been through sort of the wars and the bad times and the good times. But now he's, in the last few years, for us at least, he's just been this wonderful sort of godfather of what ExxonMobil has made possible for UTeach replication. And we're just so grateful to you, Truman. And it's wonderful, wonderful. He's been with us for almost every one of these events, I think, and we're really, really grateful for that, as well as for his ongoing support. The programs that Truman oversees include all the things that we really care about: support for higher education, K through 12 education, initiatives to improve career opportunities for women and minorities, programs that foster improvement of teaching and learning in STEM areas, things that focus on minority populations at all levels in math and science education. As I say, he's been a wonderful force for good. So I want to ask you to join me in welcoming Truman to the stage. But before we do that, I want to show you a video that ExxonMobil, now, you all, I hope you've all seen some of these these ads that ExxonMobil has produced this year and last year as well, focusing on math and science education, NIMSY, the other programs that ExxonMobil supports, but basically on teachers and their important, critical, pivotal role in math and science education. I wanted to show you maybe the quintessential video that ExxonMobil has made, and then I hope Truman will sort of comment on this as he's going to introduce our amazing speaker this evening, Dr. Harris. But I'm hoping Truman will tell you a little bit about ExxonMobil's sort of ideas and history of producing these videos, but this one in particular. This is a company that really cares, I think, and not that this doesn't do ExxonMobil good too, but these are wonderful, wonderful messages. So could we roll the video, please? This video was shown on 60 Minutes right after the Masters tournament, but it was actually made before this.
Everything that I've gained in life has been because of the teachers and the education that I had. They're just part of who I am.
Teaching is the most important profession we have.
We all go through a stage in our life where we'd like to do something important, and I was given the tools to do that. because I was fortunate enough to have some great math teachers that were incredibly inspiring.
He told us all about how mountains form and rivers.
She convinced me that there was no limit to what we could learn.
I don't think I'd be here today had I not had a wonderful science teacher.
Miss Mazzeo was her name.
Dr. Gilmore, I mean, he could teach. He would never give up on any of us.
A teacher can make a huge difference in a child's life.
She had a big impact on me in applying engineering skill sets to make a better world.
She was very inspiring for me.
She made learning of all things, calculus, fun.
I learned a lot from her, not just about math, but about life.
Hello, Mrs. Quinn, and thanks.
Thanks, Mrs. Snyder.
Julie, thank you so much for inspiring me.
Thank you, Mr. Davies.
Thank you, Mrs. Milholland.
Thank you, Dr. Neufeld. You had a big impact on me.
ExxonMobil really gets it. Truman?
Thank you, Mary Ann. I think that gives you a little idea of how we feel about teachers. Those folks are our engineers and scientists. A couple of them are actually presidents of companies. One is a distinguished engineering alum, University of Texas, Sarah Ortwine. And you may have seen them in energy ads that we've done in the past 3 or 4 years, but when we shot those, we asked them, we got in their face and we said, tell us about that teacher that really turned you on. There's got to be one back there. So those were real sincere vignettes they gave. And I think they did a great job of that. Unscripted, their own words. So you're going to see a lot of these. They've been so successful, we keep running them. I was watching the Hatfields and McCoys last night, and we were sponsoring that program. So we are really getting penetration with these ads, you know. You go from the Masters to the Hatfields and McCoys, that's something else. I don't want to talk too long. It's great, always great to be here at this. I always thank Dr. Mortar, Michael Mortar, for introducing me to UTeach several years ago, if you remember that. He's the one that led me to this direction, and when it became apparent we wanted to invest in a program like this, I said, I know the program. Seems like yesterday. To see this audience and the phenomenal growth is really rewarding. I don't want to take too much ExxonMobil time because I do want to introduce our speaker tonight, who is a great American. And I'm going to read you his entire bio because it's very impressive. And with my Texas accent, I'm going to butcher a few words here. And he always forgives me, and he lets me keep doing this. Dr. Harris is one of the best role models I've ever run into, a great partner. He and I have been working together maybe, 5 or 6 years now. And I met him at when we were at a teacher conference, actually. It's the SECME organization, which is a minority engineering outreach organization. And then later had a chance to talk to him about his summer camps, which we took to national scale. The ExxonMobil Bernard Harris summer camps are now at 20 universities across the nation and with about 50 kids each. We've had him on tour the last 4 years, and I can send him anywhere, and he gets a great audience. I tell you what, I'm a math guy, but I'm in the PR business, and he is a good trooper. When we go in on our dream tour, which features a stage production called the Rock Stars of STEM, we're making STEM cool. And our rock stars are engineers and scientists that we pony up. Of course, we use the aura of this astronaut, and we have some upbeat music. It's just, we were in Houston, Texas, in the Toyota Center with 10,000 eighth graders chanting about STEM education. Pretty cool. I tested the limit. We also have an educational forum. I hope I'm not stealing your thunder here, where we bring leaders in the community. We talk about the issues of STEM, and Dr. Harris has been a wonderful leader. And we don't let him away with just that. We pitch him to the press, and we have a PR firm that's working on this full time. And we get him up about 5 o'clock in the morning and put him in a limo and start doing all the early talk shows in town. He's done them all around the United States. And I don't care if we're in Oklahoma City or Anchorage, Alaska, or Los Angeles, California, they let him on camera. He has a great story to tell. In fact, we were at LA just a few weeks ago on the #1 show on Fox in the morning, and they took him into, it's called Google Plus, to an audience of 15 million people around the world to hear this story. So this is pretty phenomenal stuff. I tested him a couple of times. I said, I want to take you to Anchorage, Alaska. That's a big state for us. And I won't tell you exactly what he said, but he said, I don't do cold. And so I said, if you'll go, we sponsor the Iditarod dog sled race. This is the last great race, and for those of you who've been to Alaska, it's a pretty cool thing up there. Dogs are like athletes in Alaska. And I said, well, you'll get to be our Iditarider, and we'll put you in a dog sled. They have a false start through the streets of Alaska, and they only take you about a mile. And he said, okay, I'll do it. Well, I just guessed at what they did. You know, they took him 11 miles out in the country. They have these, I don't know why they do all these things, but the people are lined up on the streets. I've never been on this, so I don't know what happened. They threw biscuits at him. I have no idea. The sled actually was turned over once. And there's some other stories we can share in private about riding in a dog sled and dogs and things that happen. But I said it couldn't be any worse than going into space twice, okay? So he did survive everything. With that, we went to Africa last fall, which is absolutely a tremendous trip, and went to Nigeria, to Angola, and to South Africa. Met some wonderful young people. And we even started a lot of interest in the country of Angola. It's buzzing about STEM today. He's a national hero in that country, was on the national talk show. The Minister of Education was there. We made a tremendous hit. So we've taken the Dream Tour around the world. Dr. Harris, thank you for your partnership. It's been wonderful, and we hope to continue that. The lights are bright, so bear with me here. Bernard Harris, Jr., astronaut and president of the Harris Foundation, graduated from Sam Houston High School in San Antonio, Texas in 1974. Some San Antonio people here? Okay. There's also Bernard Harris Middle School in San Antonio if you're out on the north side. Dr. Harris holds a Bachelor of Science in Biology from the University of Houston, a Master of Medical Science from the University of Texas Medical Branch at Galveston, an MBA from the University of Houston, Clear Lake City, and an MD from the Texas Tech University School of Medicine. I'm probably the only Red Raider, so get your guns up here. He completed a residency in internal medicine at the Mayo Clinic, a National Research Council Fellowship in endocrinology at NASA Ames Space Research Center, and trained as a flight surgeon in the Aerospace School of Medicine, Brooks Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas. He is also a licensed private pilot and a certified scuba diver that we were just learning. He's going off Costa Rica here next month. So he holds several faculty appointments, including Associate Professor of Internal Medicine at the University of Texas Medical Branch and Assistant Professor of Baylor College of Medicine. Additionally, he is author and co-author of numerous scientific publications. Dr. Harris was at NASA for 10 years, where he conducted research in some word about this long that I can't pronounce, and I'm not going to try, and another one about that long, and he can tell you about that, okay? How you like that one? I got around it that time. Later, as head of the Exercise Countermeasure Project, he conducted clinical investigations of space adaptation and developed in-flight medical devices to extend astronaut stays in space. Selected to the Astronaut Corps in January of 1990, he was a mission specialist on the Space Shuttle Columbia STS-55 Space Lab D2 in 1993. As a payload commander on Space Shuttle Discovery STS-63 in 1995, he served on the first flight of the joint Russian-American space program, becoming the first African-American to walk in space, his claim to fame. A veteran astronaut of over 19 years, he has logged more than 438 hours and traveled over 7.2 million miles in space. That's about the distance across the state of Texas. He served as Vice President and Chief Scientist of Space Hab Inc., an innovative space commercialization company where he directed the company's space science business. He also served as Vice President in Business Development of Space Media Inc., an informatic company establishing an e-commerce initiative that is now part of the United Nations Education Program. Currently, he is on the board of the National Math and Science Initiative, the Houston Angel Network, Medical Informatics, Technology and Application Center, Houston Technology Center, and National Space Biomedical Research Institute. Board of Scientific Counselor. He has no life beyond this, folks, okay? In addition, He is a senior consultant for the NASA Aerospace Safety Panel, member of the NASA Biological and Physical Sciences Committee, counsel of the National Institutes of Health, National Institute for Deafness, the Texas Tech University Board of Regents, the Texas Higher Education Coalition, Texas Commission on a Representative Student Body, and Communication Disorders and Committee for the National Academy's Institute of Medicine. He currently serves as this is his day job, as Chief Executive Officer and Managing Partner for Vesalius Ventures, Inc., a venture capital firm that invests in early to mid-stage health technologies and companies, and they do some pretty cool stuff. He is also the founder of the Harris Foundation, a nonprofit organization that supports math and science education and crime prevention programs for America's youth. He is a recipient of numerous awards, including honorary doctorates from Stony Brook University, Morehouse School of Medicine, the New Jersey Institute of Technology, and the University of Hartford. NASA Spaceflight Medal, the NASA Award of Merit, a Fellow of the American College of Physicians, and was the recipient of the 2000 Horatio Alger Award. He is the author of Dreamwalker, A Journey of Achievement and Inspiration. His goals in life have been to achieve through self-empowerment and self-determination, which he'll tell us about tonight. He believes that education and effort will allow anyone to meet any challenge in life, inspiring others to reach for the stars. Please welcome Dr. Bernard Harris.
Thank you, Truman. And let me add my thanks to Mary Ann's for your support through the years, and more than just support, but friendship to the foundation, because we have been able to do quite a few things and make a significant impact around the nation over the last, I think it's been about 7 years now, Truman. So really happy to have that introduction. That is the first time that he has actually read my bio. Normally, he continues with those stories about, you know, going to Alaska and all that sort of thing. And what he failed to tell you is that when you're riding behind the dogs in the dog sled, when they're, you know, going about 20 miles an hour, they don't stop for anything. They don't stop to use the restroom. So they just go. And when they go, of course, their feet are going and that snow comes up. And I was instructed that if there's anything that hits your face, don't wipe your face. Just let it stay on there and let it dry, because that's better than, you get the picture, right? So that's what he got me into. Okay. Thank you, Truman. Appreciate that. As I stand before you this evening, I stand as a physician, medical doctor. I stand as an astronaut, which you've heard my background, and I stand as a venture capitalist. And how can I stand and do all those things? Because of what you are doing, what you are preparing to do as students, and what you will do when you get out and change the world. That's how important you are. It was those things, and I have a story just like you saw in the commercials that talk about those educators that helped me. Start with my mom, who taught me to believe in myself and told me that I could be and do anything that I wanted to be or do in life. And that was a license that I needed to do the things that I have done. But if you look at all the things that I have done, they all stem around STEM education, this thing that we all are enamored about right now. We've been doing STEM for over 20 years now, and all of a sudden it's now become passé. Not passé, but become the thing to do. And so it was important over 30, 40 years ago for me, and it's equally, if not more important now in this day and age in the 21st century. So if you don't get anything out of anything that I say this evening, get this message that what you are doing, what you are preparing for is important, not only for yourself, but for this nation. For the young people that you're going to inspire, like me, that will become the next physician, astronaut, and maybe even venture capitalist for that. When I talk to groups like this and they know that I'm an astronaut, they usually ask me 3 questions. The first question is, Dr. Harris, you've been in space. What was it like to travel in space? Everybody wants to know. I see some heads nodding. I'll talk a little bit about that. The second question is, Dr. Harris, you've been in space. Were there any aliens up there? And I'll answer that one right now. I didn't see any aliens, but some of the guys that I fly with are pretty strange. Guys and gals, for that matter. And the third question that we were talking about at the table, that when we went to Africa, I thought that this question would not come up because the folks over in that continent don't have a human space program. So I figured they really didn't know anything about, not a lot about space, but this world is so connected these days. Kids know just as, over there just as much as kids do here, because that information travels around the world. And so probably the number one question that I got asked by the kids and the adults was how to go to the bathroom in space. And you guys want to know that too, don't you? I'm not going to talk about that this evening. There's some applause. Yeah, if you heard that story, you wouldn't want, you would applaud too. You don't want to hear that, especially after dinner. But I am going to talk a little bit about, how did I get where I am? And I'm brought some of my home slides, and I'm going to start here with this picture. Some of you are my age, some of you are younger. Some of the things that I'm going to talk about next you might have read about in the history books, and that is in 1969, when Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin landed on the moon. It was an inspiration for this little boy to look at that black and white television and to imagine himself following the footsteps of those guys, to don a spacesuit, climb on board a spaceship, and travel to another planet called the moon. Those of us who were around and watching that were just fascinated with that whole thing, because this was the first time that human beings had ever left this planet. And it was incredible. It was a wonderful, wonderful feat. And I wanted to follow in their footsteps. And those guys would go into space, they would come back, they had these ticker tape parades, everybody would call them American heroes, and I wanted to be an American hero. That's how my ambition to become an astronaut started. Now, I must also admit that I was somewhat of a space geek. Let me, before I go into the space geek thing, let me talk about this, because I think this is important. When you go out and you are talking to the young people, I want you, in addition to telling them about education, how important it is, to remind them how important dreams are. And my definition of dreams is simply a goal, the ability to see yourself in the future doing something different than what you're doing now. In a lot of our communities around this nation, the kids, for whatever their environment, forget how to do that. They lose that ability. And I think part of your job is to remind them how important dreams are, because they set that goal for us to strive for, just as I described to you my goal was to become an astronaut. And so I have this saying that I always like to pass, that dreams are the reality of the future. But first, you must have a dream. And dreams tell us who we really are. And it is so important to deliver that. So please don't forget that. But here's a slide I want to talk about. So this answers the question, how did the astronaut decide to become a medical doctor? Because he saw this guy who was a medical doctor practicing space medicine on a spaceship called the Enterprise. And here he is examining one of his crew members. I threw this slide in here today because it was kind of interesting. As a venture capitalist, we get to see latest and greatest technologies. If you remember Star Trek, you remember they had communication devices that they carried around, their handheld communication devices? They had computers. They had these pads that Uhura used to walk around with. Golly, didn't that sound familiar? And today, I actually listened to a company that uses ultra-wideband radar, again, technology, to look inside of the body. And they presented to our investment group that this is not the future, this is now. They actually have embedded these sensors into a bed so that when a person lays down on this bed, it automatically tracks their respiratory rate, their heart rate, whether they have arrhythmias, whether they are moving or not. Those who have ulcers, that's a big problem, folks who are bedridden. This can detect all of those things. Amazing. So, 30 years ago or longer, when I was looking at this technology on Star Trek, it's hard to believe that it is actually here today. So that was my inspiration. But when I looked at NASA, the real guy was a guy by the name of Joe Kerwin, who was the first American physician to travel in space. And you notice something different about Joe examining his crew member in space? Examining people in space is a little bit different than here on the ground. Here on Earth, we would say, hey, Mrs. Jones, come in and have a seat on the table. But of course, in space, you just say, hey, Joe, float this way, and it doesn't matter whether you're upside or down because you're in zero gravity. Now, here's a test that I usually give to medical groups, but I'm going to give it to this highly educated group here. Does anybody know what's on his head, on the doctor's head? It's a band going across his head. He's looking into someone's mouth. Anybody, any guesses? A light? Not exactly, but close. So, did I hear something? Is it a magnet to hold tools? Can you imagine a magnet up there holding all your tools? No, not, I'm afraid. What university are you with? Anyway, no, I'm just playing. What it is it is a head mirror. Back in the day before the pin lights, before the portable electronic devices, there was a mirror that had a hole in it, and the mirror was concave, so it could reflect the ambient light, and you would reflect the ambient light from the room into the mouth or into the ear, and that's how we examine. That was the old days. So when I decided to become an astronaut, of course, I did all the educational things that Truman just told you that I did, and arrived at NASA in 1990 as an astronaut candidate. We call ourselves ASCANs. Now, before, you think that's funny, before you become an astronaut candidate, you become an astronaut hopeful. So any guesses on what we call those people? I'll leave it at that. Once you become an astronaut candidate, you go through about 2 years of basic training, and then you get prepared to go into space. And part of that preparation is that you get selected to be on a mission. So I was lucky I got to be selected for my first mission fairly quickly. And when we were selected as a crew, we get together as a crew and decide on what the mission insignia is going to be. And what you're looking at now is that mission patch, we call it. And you'll see that on our space suits, on our flight suits, and sometimes even on the orbiter itself, which is the spaceship. And this was a patch for my second mission where we went to the Mir space station. So you'll see at the top a shuttle depiction of the shuttle going to that station. It was the first time that the shuttle had ever gone to a space station, particularly the Mir space station. There's a depiction of the Mir station down at the bottom with the Cyrillic letters MIR that stand for peace. And then you'll notice that there are other symbols in here. One of those symbols symbolizes the mission number. You heard Truman mention that I flew on STS-63. So I want you to take a look at this patch and see if you can find the symbol for the 6 and 3 in the patch. I heard 3 stars and 6 rays of the sun. You guys are mathematicians, intelligent. Cool, yeah. So it's 6 rays of the sun and 3 stars. And you'll see also we have the American and the Russian flag down the bottom. But you know the most important thing about this patch is that it has my name on it right there to the left. And that's so we can show all our family and friends that we actually have been in space. So let's get to space. You probably know that we're transitioning now. The shuttle has been decommissioned, but when it was flying, it was a wonderful vehicle. This vehicle weighs about 5 million pounds. In order to get that 5 million pounds in the air, we have to light 5 engines that produce a thrust of around 7.5 million pounds. And when those babies light, you're leaving this planet and nothing's going to hold you to it. It's an incredible ride as you get pushed back in your seat to 3 times your weight. And then within 2 minutes or so, we reach an altitude of about 100,000 feet. At that point, we drop off the solid rocket motors. They fall back in the ocean and are recovered. And now things, even though you get rid of the